For the month of October, we're still delving into our Commonwealth Conversation series where we're looking at foundations all across the state. Now, we've looked at a lot of 757 foundations, but there is one today that's located in Waynesboro that's doing great things and making an impact across the state. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville, and we'll be right back, so stay tuned. Welcome back. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. So glad that you're joining us once again on this beautiful Sunday as we broadcast live from the campus of the Norfolk State University, from the studios of WNSB Hot 91, the soul of VA. Look, we hope you had a great weekend. We certainly did. And for all those that were caught in the Hurricane Ian, our prayers and our thoughts are with you. We believe God for full restoration and healing for those that were hurt, for those that lost their lives, truly for comfort for their family. But after the storm, the sun will rise. So all of you that were impacted by the storm, we hope that we know that everything's going to be okay. Look, also, we'd like to give a shout out to the greatest nation, the Spartan Nation, and also the greatest alumni base, all the supporters, faculty, staff, administration, students. Look, there's no better place to be than Virginia's largest historically black college and university, and that's the Norfolk State University. And once again, we give a shout out to our producer that keeps us right and tight, always on the air, Marvin Folks, also known as DJ Scandalous, which you can hear live every day, Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. and also on Saturday. Look, we got a lot of great things coming up here. We've got our father-daughter dance that WNSB is hosting. We got our membership drive that's coming up later this month. And look, we've got American Heart Association of Hampton Roads Heart Walk that's being sponsored. But also, on October 15th, we got this little thing called Homecoming. And listen, it's going to be a great homecoming because we have an opportunity to come home to the Spartan Nation and show our love, our pride, and our appreciation, and show up in the stands because I'm believing in God for everything, and I believe in God for a win on Homecoming Day as well. But look, we want to get right into this show because I'm truly, truly excited for what we have today. Listen, for the last couple of months, you guys know, and you've been joining us, we've been talking about foundations. This show is about bringing movers, shakers, and policymakers to you to discuss issues important to the community. And the foundation of the community is the family first. And then from the family, we have individuals that are part of the community that say, hey, I want to give back. Hey, I want to make an impact, and I want to ensure that our community is going in the direction that I believe it should go, which is to the top, which is why we have with us today an organization and representative of this organization that simply is entitled, that takes us there, and is entitled Rise. We have with us Sharon Fitz, who's the CEO of Rise Foundation. Sharon, my good friend, how are you this morning?
I am well, thank you.
Sharon, we've known each other for a long time, and, I've known of the organization. I participated in some of the events, and this is something that, I've wanted to get you on the show for a long time, so we finally found an opportunity, finally found a date, and we're excited to definitely have you here to talk about Rise.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. So
when we talk about Sharon, when we talk about Rise, and for those that want to follow us, we're at riseorg2018.com. When we talk about Rise, what is Rise?
Well, I guess the best way I would say it is that Rise has actually three entities to it, but they're separate, but the work is connected. We're not a religious organization, but everything we do is spiritually led. And more than anything, what we're about is community building, revitalizing hope within the community, within the individuals that make up the community, and bringing stakeholders together for the greater good of the community. And everything that we do is about informing, educating, and calling everyone in to take a hold and use their responsibility as a community stakeholder.
Wow. You know, when I take a look at your mission, you say your mission is to be a vehicle for giving a voice to the voiceless, strength to the weak, and support for the lost within the Black community.
Indeed.
You know, those are very powerful, extremely powerful marks when you talk about a mission statement. You know, why take up that mantra? I mean, because look, that's not an easy thing to do. You know, to be a voice for the voices.
Not, but it's a necessary one.
It is.
And the why is because when you are a member of a community that is so underestimated and unappreciated, it becomes a calling that you have to dismantle the false narratives about who we are as a people and what we can do and what we do and what we have done as contributors. So it became important that we start doing everything that we can to dismantle the false narratives about who we are as a people, and to also challenge our community to take back the responsibility to show that we are a people of excellence and we do great things and have done great things. And so it starts by looking at the issues and exposing those issues and asking people of all walks of life to come together and look at those issues to help improve the communities that we started this organization to serve.
You know, when you talk about giving voice to the voiceless, you know, a lot of times that's kicking back against what we call the establishment, right? That's kicking back against those that have really controlled a lot of resources, control, you know, what individuals can and cannot do across the board. You know, when have you experienced in your journey with Rise a pushback to give a voice to the voiceless?
Every day.
Oh my goodness.
Every day, just to be quite honest with you, and it's not always those that necessarily represent the establishments. It's also those who are nervous about us challenging those issues, those systemic issues.
Wow.
But yes, every day. It is. So many people struggle or challenge us because they feel like that they're not understanding why we have the audacity to think that we can do what we set out to do. So, how do I say it? There are people who question when we set up an event to discuss systemic racism, structural racism. These things they make people uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, it makes people push away and also fight back against anything that we're doing to expose how systemic racism and how structural racism prevents Black people in particular from upward mobility. And so, you know, I can go on and on and on about that. But really, it is an issue people have with us about just having the audacity to think that we can do what we set out to do.
The audacity of courage in order to create change. You know, let's take a quick step back, Sharon, if you would. You know, because like I said, I've participated in some of the conferences and we've been friends a long time. I want you to talk to our audience about that bridge the gap conversation and what happened after, as what we all call some call and you call the terrorist attack in Charlottesville in 2017.
There's all these different perspectives when we're talking about what happened. You have people who, before witnessing this one way or the other, whether it was through the television or in person, it was shocking to them because they had come to believe that this kind of thing could never happen in this time. And then you have people who understand how this is likely to happen, and it's not surprising. And so when you bring those two perspectives or other perspectives together to discuss what happened, It's challenging, but it is an art. You have to be able to understand how to navigate those perspectives. First of all, you have to respect those different perspectives that come into the room and the different places that they are and their understanding about about the issues, the systemic issues that provoked that mentality. And so it's a work. It's a work of understanding the personalities, understanding the perspectives, understanding the issue and the issues, and then speaking to it and getting people to acknowledge that racism is at the heart of it. It is alive and well and active.
Absolutely. There's a quote by President Barack Obama you have on your site. It simply says, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek." Why that quote?
Absolutely.
Why that quote?
Because we are. I mean, it's the thing is that there's so much complacency that's an epidemic right now. And I understand that there are a lot of people, especially in the older generation, that have been fighting this fight for a long time.
Absolutely.
And that they are tired. And as a result of them becoming tired and complacent, good reason, I would say, the next generation doesn't have them as an example to keep the fight going. And so, therefore, there's there's a break in the example. You have the older generation that fought hard, that changed the laws, that used the law, and now we have a generation of young people who don't know anything about that.
Right.
And so we have a responsibility to make sure that, one, we draw back in those who actually have the knowledge and experience, and get them to help us to educate the next generation so that we all do our part to keep the work going, to keep working to change and establish and reestablish the work of community building and the work of breaking strongholds of racism and oppression in these systems that that work just the way they were designed to work.
Absolutely.
And I hope I answered your question.
No, listen. It's not about answering the question. It's about having a conversation.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's what we want to do is let our listeners know exactly what RISE is and why it's important to rise above the fray, rise above the negativity, in order for the Black community itself, for the focus that you have to be what it's always supposed to be.
We can't rise above it though until we acknowledge it, and that's where the work begins. We first have to acknowledge what the real issues are and be willing to call it what it is, define it, evaluate it, and then deal with it.
Absolutely.
And can I share with you? There's one other quote that's really important to me that I have that I use. It's not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that's by James Baldwin. And that's one that I really hold on to.
Repeat that one more time so we could really hear
Not
it.
everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. James Baldwin.
It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville, and we're delving into foundations during our Commonwealth Conversation series and movements across this state of organizations and people that are making change not only in the lives of individuals in their community, but all across the Commonwealth and beyond. Today we have with us Sharon Fitz, who is the CEO of RISE Foundation and Organization. Sharon, tell us about some of the events. Now, when you talk about advocacy, you talk about creating change. You've got a lot of initiatives. I participated in one, so one of your annual events that you have from the very beginning. But tell us a little bit about some of the events that you have and how you're addressing these issues.
Oh, wow. We host community conversations, workshops. We do corporate training that evaluate and define the systemic racism or systemic issues and how it impedes true community. RISE organization also hosts annual community stakeholder conference, which we just had in August. the challenges, we work to inform and unite community stakeholders to change, to become change agents. The RISE Foundation, we have an after-school and a summer school program that focuses on building confidence in young people, challenging them to think critically, and to articulate their thoughts in verbally and in writing. Those programs focus heavily on reading and writing and public speaking. We also have a women's summit that we host on an annual basis, and we bring in women from all around the state, all walks of life, and they come in and they get inspired to break strongholds of unbelief, and to start new endeavors, and to believe in, have the confidence that they can be successful at it. So we do a lot, and everything is about building up and inspiring and educating in order to just bring in people together to work towards change.
Absolutely. There are a few programs and initiatives that you mentioned I want to delve into just a little bit. And I want to start from the latter and go to the former. You mentioned your Women's Summit. Now, you have a Women's Summit. RISE is coming to North Carolina. But, you mentioned dispelling some of the myths and building confidence. Well, why do you think it's important because we hear women's conferences all the time, right? Women's Summit and so forth. Why do you think it's still important to dispel myths about women and some of the issues surrounding them and build confidence?
Well, the summit is for women of all color, but in particular is Black women. We tend to get beat down quite a bit, a lot, and so there's a need to build ourselves back up and to understand that we are important, and that we have minds and souls and dreams, and that those things are necessary and needed. And so, there are a lot of summits. They pop up every day, but ours is really about the substance of building the whole woman, and not so much building, but rebuilding or inspiring and helping them to understand that they are important and that they have that their dreams are important.
Yes. You talk about dreams being important, and when we take a look at RISE itself, this is just not, something that you wanted to do by yourself, but there was somebody else that you started working hand to hand with.
Absolutely.
And listen, it's extremely committed and hardworking, but we can't go any further without talking about the person, your partner.
And the McGuffin.
That's it.
Absolutely, my business partner. Absolutely. And we met each other probably 3 to 6 months prior to starting RISE, and that right there is unheard of for us to. We're getting ready to celebrate 5 years. So, and we've been, and how do I say this? We've been soldiers at this, and we support the visions that we both bring to the table. There's never a time when either of us have a vision or have something come to us that we feel very strongly about, that we don't say, all right, let's do it. We may not know where the money's going to come from. We don't know how we're going to get it done, but we say, let's do it. And we start working towards it, and we usually prevail.
That is amazing that, it's not every day you meet somebody with a kindred spirit. But I would have never known, when I met you two, that you guys had just met like several months before.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, you guys work hand in hand. It's like you've known each other all your lives, and that you were made for this moment and this time. Absolutely. I'm not sure if you are aware, but I think you are. But we actually met as I was an area chair for the NAACP, and Chanda was a liaison for a group of people who were trying to establish a new NAACP branch in Augusta County. And so, of course, they had to connect with me as the area chair to help them with the process. And so 6 months in preparing to establish the charter of the branch, the charter was denied by National. And so you had 100 people who were paid and ready to start working, who had to find out that they couldn't charter the branch. And so the two of us had already been
talking every day, hours upon hours, getting to know each other, but really talking about the work that needed to be done. And that very mission that you shared, that was what we talked about all the time, giving voice back to the Black community and hope. Because without hope, there's nothing. There's nothing that you can build. You can't build anything without hope. And so we didn't want to lose the momentum. And so that's how Rise was born. I mean, I struggled, to be honest with you. I struggled because I had to be the one to give the news to Chanda and those 100 people that the charter was not going to happen. And so I struggled, and I didn't get any sleep the night before when I had to tell them. And I just opened my eyes, and the word Rise came to me. And so my mother always said, if you going to take a problem to someone, try to have a solution. And so my thought and the thing that came to me was to suggest to Chanda that she and I start a new social justice organization. And she said yes. Let's do it.
And look, you guys are doing it. When you talk about creating confidence in the community and building the community, there's no greater foundation to a community than its children, because they are the future. Well, you know what? I'm going to take that back because, when talking, I was moderating a talk, and Reverend Barber was one of the speakers, and he said, you know what, you need to stop saying that they're the future, because actually they are the now. So we're mentoring we're mentoring the now. So there's no greater resource than the now. And you've got two programs. You mentioned the after school program, Rise after school program, for children, in order for to instill the confidence in the now. But there's another program that you have that I think is extremely important, and I want you to talk a little bit about it. It's the advocacy program for our youth. It's the Rise Student Education Advocacy Program. What is that?
Oh, wow. Well, there is this issue that we many of us know about, is the school to prison pipeline. And that advocacy is really about breaking that, making sure that the kids are staying in school and getting what they need while in school. And through that advocacy program, we have a lot of parents that contact us when their children are unfortunately facing expulsion or suspension, or they are being told by the school that their children need to be placed on an IEP or something to that effect. And oftentimes parents struggle with that because it's all new to them, and the information and the jargon that's coming at them is foreign to them. And so it's important that that we go in and help with the mediate those kind of situations. So we go in and we advocate, one, that the children are not being put out of school, that they remain in school, but also then to look at what's going on. Why are there problems that this child is either getting put out or trying to get put out? And so we work really hard to figure out what's going on and to help so that the student can start excelling to the best of their ability, so that they can get the education that they need to be able to graduate and have a life.
On the site, I love this saying that you have. It says, I don't need medication to help me focus. I need someone focused to help me. And
Absolutely.
And you have this picture of this young, beautiful, gorgeous black male. That's, that you could see all the potential in his life, right? And to me, that really just drives home the need to destroy any negativity in our communities that's going to stop our black children, especially our black men, from realizing their full potential that God gave them to move forward and be the leaders that they're supposed to be of their families, their community, and of their lives and our country.
But we have to understand, though, that in the school plays a large part
Absolutely.
In helping us to shape these young men. And unfortunately, our children are not seeing themselves in the text. They're not seeing themselves in the pictures of the book. They're not hearing anything that speaks to who they are culturally, that instills in them a sense of they can be, they can do, great things. And so if our children are not feeling inspired that there's any hope for them, that people see them as being able to achieve great things, then we're already failing them early on in school.
Absolutely. You know, we have a few minutes left, and I can't end this conversation without talking about something that I'm passionate about, and that's books. That's libraries. You know, for a lot of people don't know, one of my specialty graduate degree is actually in library and information science. I love libraries. Wow. I love museums.
I did not know that about you.
Oh no, look, when I tell you that I could stay in a library or a museum all day. I love it. I love history. I just love exploring because you get lost in the books, and that's the way you create and preserve and tell your history, your story. History is simply his or her story, right? That's all it is. So I want you to talk about the Rise Foundation that houses the All-Black Library.
Wow. So you just described Chanda and myself whenever we enter the library.
Really?
I mean, and when we started purchasing the books and placing the books into the library, we were like kids in a candy store. And so the library, it started from us talking about our experience as young people going into libraries and the way that we love books, but it was always this extreme hunt to find books that we really wanted to read that inspired us. And so, oftentimes, for the longest time, I would go into libraries and look, and the books are just not there. They're not there for us. And so we wanted to create a library where our children and the community could come in, and all of the books are there, all of the genres are there, but they are written by Black authors from a perspective that's not often found or heard unless you have to hunt for it. And so the Black Library is really about making it easy to find a book or books that speak to you, that speak to our young people. It's not a struggle for them to go into a library and find a book that they want to read. And that's what the library is really all about, breaking the struggle, making it easy, and helping people to understand that there are all kinds of books written by us in all the genres that you find in the library.
We've been talking with Sharon Fitz, CEO of the Rise.org. The saying is true. If you don't see a seat at the table, go create your own table. And that's exactly what Sharon Fitz and Chandra McGuffin have done. They have created their own table. Look, Sharon, tell us how our listeners can get involved.
Well, the first thing you can do is go to our website and get to know our programs and the things that we do, and then reach out to us. And there's always events going on, so I just feel like it's important that people get to know us and understand what we do and get a sense of what we do before they volunteer. Because when you volunteer, you become a part of the family and the community, and it's not easy work. It's not it's heavy lifting, but it's good for the soul.
RiseOrg2018.com. That's RiseOrg2018.com. Go take a look, get involved, and look at the movement that's taking the Commonwealth by storm. Sharon, my friend, thank you so much for being a part of Stay in the Water. We're excited and we're looking forward to what you have in store for the future.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, get ready, because coming right behind me, that's right, all the financial know-how you need is Black Wall Street. This is Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. We'll see you next week. God bless, do great, and have a great week.